quote unquote your boy, Ballface 8020, back again with another great astrological reading. So, first, let's talk about the last two readings, the reading for the Chiefs game and for the Eagles game. Um, I clearly stated in the one about the Chiefs game that my Ravens prediction was contingent on the game kicking off by eight uh, eight what was it, 8:24 or 8:25. I thought it might be like there was a chance it might be a little later than that because Taylor Swift first game of the season, hoopla and stuff. So I figured that there was a chance that it would get later than that. I wasn't counting on the 20-minute weather delay. Um, so I now I'm and I said that twice in the video that the bet was contingent. The prediction was contingent on the game ticket kicking off by 8:24 or 8:25. The truth, I took a second look at the chart, and it probably would have been okay until like 8:28 actually. And so it's after like 8:29 and after, no chance. The Chiefs were definitely going to win that game. However, I didn't say that if the game is later. I said that the pick is contingent on it being on the kickoff being by 8:24 or 8:25. But I didn't 8:25 I think is what I said. But I never actually said if it's not kicked off by then the Chiefs will win. Um, because really I hadn't thought that much about it. Like I had, don't get me wrong, the chart clearly did show that the Chiefs would win at the kickoff time that they had, but I wasn't sure enough about it, so I just or I didn't even really care because I just assumed the game was going to start around then. Um, so I won't count that as a win. The thing is, but I'm not definitely not going to count it as a loss because I clearly said that the pick was contingent on kickoff being by 8:25. Now the Eagles game is different. I don't know if that game kicked off exactly on time or not. Like when I say on time, I mean 8:23 Eastern Standard Time. I think it did. It may have been like a minute or two later. There's no reason with that chart that a minute or two should have made any kind of difference whatsoever. That chart very clearly shows a Packers win. So the chart was just wrong. Now, the thing about event charts, I didn't read it wrong. I'm positive about that. The thing about event charts is they're at their best for they're really at their best for championship games or championship fights. Like one thing where like the winner wins the title, and that's where they're at their absolute best. They are very good, but maybe not quite as good in like playoff type games where if you lose, you're eliminated. So not like a series game, like not like a game where like you know uh it's best of seven and it's just one game in that series. I mean, you can use them for that, but they're not going to be as effective as they are for like elimination playoff type games. So that could even be something like I've been having success with it in tennis from the quarterfinals on in tournaments. They're pretty good. Um, the next rung down is uh, non postseason games that are prime time and the only game that day. So like you wouldn't want you're probably they probably wouldn't work too well for something like Sunday night football because there's other games during the day on Sunday. But you generally, and I've gone back and looked at the previous games. It's very accurate for Monday night football, and I haven't tried it with Thursday night football. But if you look back through the Monday night football games, it's very accurate with that. So yeah, now again, like it has to be like a standalone game. So like I've been burned by like using it for baseball. It does seem like it works better than chance, and it does get some really big hits, but overall, it doesn't work. The And I haven't tried it for basketball or hockey, but my guess is it would probably be better than chance in the postseason, but worthless during the regular season. Unless, like I said, it's like a standalone game or something like that. Um, Now, generally, I don't know. We don't really have statistics for this kind of thing. My understanding is that if the chart is cast for the proper date and time and it's read properly, for a championship game, an event chart should be accurate around 95% of the time, maybe even more. For a non-championship playoff game, should be accurate, maybe 90%. For standalone games, standalone primetime games, I mean, I would guess, I want to say like 80%. However, this Eagles game is the first time I've ever seen it be wrong because I've looked at like I think six other Monday Night Football games from last year, and it was correct for all of them. So, I mean, maybe I didn't enter in the correct, time or something. Although that would actually still be less than 90% now that I think about it. 6 out of 7. So, yeah. So anyway, that's where it is. So I was going to do an event chart for the Eagles' upcoming Monday night game against the Falcons. And I started to do it, and then I just realized, I hate making event charts. I hate them. I hate the fact that I don't know exactly what time the game's going to start. I hate how difficult they are to read. I fucking hate event charts. I can't promise you that I'm never going to do an event chart again, but I don't enjoy doing them. I don't like them at all. So that leaves Horary. Now, there's two big problems with Horary. One is, since Horary just involves you asking a question to the universe, you're counting on the universe to not fuck with you in the answer, and you're also counting on the universe not to get annoyed with you, like with being like, are you asking it too many questions about the same thing and shit? Because it will, and I've had experience with this where like initially I was doing really well in baseball with Horary, and then it just stopped working. Like because I guess the universe got bored with me just asking about random games. I don't know. Um, so I don't know. And then so that's the first problem with Horary. But the really big problem with Horary is that for a contest chart is how do you assign the houses? Like how do you assign who gets what house? Like an event chart, it's easy. The favorite has the first house, the underdog has the seventh house. No problem. But a Horary chart is different. Who gets the first house is the team that you want to win. Or you just go by the other way around. Maybe you don't care about the team who wins, but you hate the other team. Then they get the seventh house. So then that's easy enough. The other thing is when it's a title defense in a championship fight. So we're talking pretty much just UFC or boxing. When they're defending a world title, it has to be a world title. It won't work for like some shitty like lower level titles, or at least it hasn't when I've tried it. So like a world title fight where it's so it can't be for a vacant title. It has to be like a champion defending the title, like that Sean O'Malley fight I was talking about. Or like when Usyk is defending his title later this year against Fury. And I have Fury winning that rematch, by the way. So that's like for a title defense. So you might get like, and of those, you got to think like there's probably going to be 25 world title fights a year, 25 to 30 world title fights a year. And of the charts, maybe 80% of that 20, those are clear enough to read. So you're going to be able to do 20 reads per year for a Horary chart if you're doing championship fights. And then, of those, for Horary, you're supposed to be accurate around 90% of the time, assuming you're reading the chart right. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see. But so anyway, here is so the thing is, I could have looked at the Eagles event chart, the event chart for Monday, for the Monday night game for the Eagles have coming up. But like I said, I did the chart. I did the chart. I started to read it, and I just said, my heart is not in this. This isn't fun. I don't want to do it. I don't want to read this chart. I don't want to keep reading these charts, making these charts. And largely because I don't know exactly what time the game's going to kick off, and I won't know until it does. And that really, I mean, that's the biggest problem. I mean, I don't like doing them anyway, but that really kills it for me. So then I was thinking, I was like, well, wait a minute. I really do hate the Eagles. I really do want them to lose next week. So I can do a Horary chart because I can just assign the Eagles the seventh house, the house of the others. It's also the house of faggots, which is a good place for the Eagles. And so yeah, now I don't know if this is one of those things where like even if it ends up working for the next week, I don't know if this is one of those things where it works for like 3 or 4 weeks and then stops because like the universe is like, well, you're just asking about regular bullshit games. Like generally, if you see this stuff, if you read about horror and contest charts for horror, they say like whether you're rooting for a team or rooting against a team, you can't just ask about regular games week after week. You're going to start getting the wrong answer or bullshit answers. There needs to be something special about the game. Like either maybe it's a game you're going to, maybe it's a game a friend of yours is going to, maybe it's a game against a big rival, maybe it's a game that'll like get them into the playoffs or risk eliminating them from the playoffs. Something like that. Needs to be something big. So I was thinking we'll see how this week goes and then we'll keep trying. And if it stops working, it stops working. Maybe it never even starts working. We're about to find out. So let's get into the chart. So anyway, so we have this chart. This is cast for this is when the chart was cast. Now, so how do we assign the houses? Well, again, as I said, the Eagles, as the gayest team in all of professional sports, they get the 7th house, the house of faggots. So that's Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. So the eagle signifier in this chart is Saturn. The opponent, who in this case is the Falcons, they are have the 1st house because they're the enemy of the faggot team, the Eagles, and that is with the Cancer, the moon. Okay, so first thing we look at here is let's look at the moon first. Moon is in the 5th house. That's neutral. It's not good and it's not bad. It's just kind of there. It's meh. And it's at 2947. This means that the moon is void of course. Void of course means that the moon is not going to form any new aspects before it exits the sign that it's in. As you can see, the moon is in Libra. It's not going to be in Libra much longer. It's certainly not making any new aspects before it leaves Libra. Yeah, that's because oh, by the way, that only counts to other major planets. So actually, like you see this, it's got this aspect with Pluto, but that doesn't count because it's not it has to be a visible planet. Basically, here's the thing: is if there isn't a day of the week named after it, it isn't really a planet. Sun, Sunday. Moon, Monday. I think Mercury, Tuesday. I can't. I don't know. The Mars is. You know what? I really don't know actually. I mean, I know it says Saturday, Saturn. The Sun is Sunday. Monday is the Moon, and then yeah, I don't know what the other 4 are actually. Huh? Okay, that's weird. But I know I can tell you what they. I mean, I know what they are. I just don't know which day is it. The other major planets are Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury. So those planets, you may have heard of the planets Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Those are outer planets. You can't see them with the naked eye. You need a telescope to see them. And those don't really have much impact in horror. Pluto has some impact in event charts, but this is not an event chart. It's a horror chart. Anyway, sorry for that digression. So the moon is void of course. Now, generally in a horror contest chart, what the moon void of course would mean is by itself, not a huge deal. It's just that if you see a chart that's kind of even, or kind of even or even-ish, and the moon is void of course, if it's a game that can end in a tie, it's indicative of a tie. Okay, so that this really it's for soccer. For soccer it comes up, and I've seen it happen. Now technically, a football game can end in a tie, but that's very unlikely. So that's probably not going to happen. Another thing is that the moon is actually a signifier in this chart. So I don't know if the same rules apply. However, the fact that the moon is a signifier and it's void of course, that indicates to me some weakness for the moon. That does not look good for the Falcons. Furthermore, look how close the sun is to the moon. It is still a new moon. Which means that the moon has very little light. It's not even visible yet. It's about, what is it, 45 degrees away, a little bit less than 45 degrees away. So the moon is weak. The moon, I mean, its house placement is okay, but it's like it's weak. And also, it's entering its fall, which is in Scorpio, so that's the worst sign for the moon. It's not actually in it yet, but it is getting there. For considering this is just a game of 60 minutes of playing time, it's probably not relevant. However, it's close enough that you at least make note of it. So overall, looking at the Falcons, it's not horrible, but it's bad. It's fifth house, void of course, and very little light. This by itself does not look good for the Falcons. Let's go to the House of Faggots, the Eagles' house, Saturn. Saturn in the 10th house, right on the MC, very powerful. Eagles win. Sorry, guys. This chart is very clear. The Eagles are going to win this game. Now, again, it's horary. It's for a non-significant game. It's just a game next week, and nothing special about it. So maybe the chart's wrong. I don't know. That is what the chart says. Really quick, we will look at the anicea. The anicea of the moon in Libra means it's at 1 in Pisces, so that's nothing. The anicea of Saturn here is at 14 in Libra, so nothing happening there. It's like 13 something in Libra. Yeah, do we have anything else of note? Anything touching any signifier? Anything that's touching the first house? No, I mean, we do have Pluto near the 8th house cusp, but it's also, well, if it was an event chart, that would be a really bad sign for the Eagles, but in a horary chart, I don't think it really makes a big difference. No, yeah, sorry, this is a very clear chart, guys. Eagles win. Now, before the season started, and I should have mentioned this, I did do a horary chart for how will the Eagles do this. I can't remember if the question was how will the Eagles do this season. I think I asked that. I said, like, will the Eagles have a good season, or how will the Eagles do this season? I did not ask specifically will the Eagles win the championship or win the Super Bowl. I was expecting the result to come back negative. The chart came back extremely positive. Said that the Eagles are going to have a very good season, and which I wasn't expecting. However, when I went to go check the odds, I was like, oh wow, it says the Eagles are going to have a good season. I should bet on them making the playoffs. And then I saw that if you wanted to bet on the Eagles making the playoffs, you have to put down $320 some to win back $100. So obviously, maybe I was expecting the Eagles to have a bad season, but Las Vegas wasn't. So not a super fascinating prediction. However, that is what it said. However, looking at the chart, it said that the Eagles would have a good season but not win the Super Bowl. So I guess that's just what we have to hope for, if you're somebody who hates the Eagles, which I'm assuming most of my viewers don't care. I mean, most of my viewers really don't. 99% of my viewers don't care about these astrology videos anyway. And of the few who do, I doubt most of them many of them care about the Eagles one way or the other. But I hate the Eagles. I think they suck. I think they're a bunch of real faggots. I think their fans are faggots. I think Philly is a bad city. I don't think it's as bad as New York. But yeah, Eagles are faggots and so are their fans. But it looks like they're going to win next week. That's all for now. See you in the next.